Hi, this video is about Spectrum Sensor. So Spectrum Sensor really is part of a platform from Zimmer and Peacock, and that platform we really kind of describe it as sort of sensor to API or sensor to application program interface. But first of all, I'm going to deal with Spectrum Sensor. So Spectrum Sensor is part of a technology stack from ZP, and it's really a generic sensor that gets its specification from the method files and from the signal extraction file. And I will describe that in a minute. Now, at the moment, Spectrum Sensor is part of this kind of SenseItAll platform. And though the form factor here looks like a handheld meter, we can also do this form factor in terms of implantable sensors, wearable sensors, sensors that are put into the environment, and not just this point of care or point of need type form factor that you're seeing. Now, as the video plays, I will also describe some of the elements as well. So one of the elements is the spectrum sensor. So this is a sensor upon which you can put the analyte of interest. Now what happens with this is, and I will slightly move myself out of the way, is the sensor goes into our hardware. So it's probably worth knowing that ZP has been developing this hardware for a very long time. This is just one of the form factors, but anyway, the sensor goes into the hardware. Now this is really important as well, that we often use apps on smart devices, because apps on smart devices are a nice bridge between sometimes hardware and also the cloud. So we have our app, and it's also worth knowing that we have a proprietary database system called Julie. Now, just because we have Julie, it does allow other people to build their businesses and their technology upon Julie, because Julie does have an API, an application programming interface built into it. So the sensor goes into the meter, and what happens there is the meter communicates, or rather the sample goes onto the sensor, and then the app tells the meter essentially what to do. The meter gives the data back to the app, and then the app gives the data back to Julie. So that's kind of our SenseItAll platform. Now what I will do is then say that Julie actually then processes that data and turns it into information. Sort of information can be, is something present or not present? Is somebody diseased or non-diseased? Is there an analyte present? And if so, what concentration? So it turns raw data or raw signal into information. Now the platform itself, at the heart of this, we have Julie, and as we've already described previously, we have apps, and we write these apps often on the Android. Now what the app is doing in this case is, because we're talking about our spectrum sensor, the first thing the app will do is speak to Julie, and get the method file. Now, once it's got the method file, the app has the method files. But it speaks to Julie, which is a cloud database system, and we get the method file. The method file goes back to the app, and the app then communicates with the meter. Now, what's nice about the SenseItAll platform, which this meter falls into, is it can do a lot of science. It's got it's a very sort of instrumentized instrument. It can do a lot. Now, what it actually does, it's told essentially by Julie, but via the app. Now, as previously shown, the sample goes onto the sensor, and then the meter, or the electronics rather, run the analysis and give the data back to the app. The app again then is the bridge back to Julie and sends the data back to Julie, where we actually get the raw data. Now, the reason we do the raw data is, especially in that commercialization stages, it really helps answer the question, where is the data? Once you start saving data locally, which you of course can do, it becomes a manual effort to then share that data, get that data to the cloud. So we have Julie, and we can send the raw data up to the cloud. Now, the next phase is that we can then extract signal from the raw data. At this point now we call it information. And as I said earlier on, information can be, is a liquid present? What liquid is it? That would be one piece of information that we could do. Is an analyte present? If so, how much of it is present? Is a virus present? If so, is it the virus that I think it is? So we can basically turn raw signal into information. And I've said it already, but we do have an API. This is a screenshot off Julie, and Julie does have an API icon, and that will allow people then to bring the data into their clouds. Now, the reason Julie's in there is because Julie's been developed over several years, and it's very good at bringing raw data into it, processing that raw data into information. But we do understand that most people who work with Zimmer Peacock are independent businesses, and they want to have that kind of customer experience, and that's why we've got the API built into it. Just in terms of form factors, so we've so far in these slides have been discussing point of care or point of need kind of form factor, where you've got a meter and a sort of disposable sensor that goes in the front of it. Form factors can be more like this, which is a sort of environmental type application. Form factors can also be this kind of package. This package is actually developed for going into fish. In this example, it's into the perinatal cavity, and it continuously monitors analytes in the fish, which can also be expanded out to horticulture. And also, so there's three form factors there. One of them is the point of care, one of them is environmental monitoring, and one of them is kind of continuous implantation. We do have wearable form factors as well. But I'm just saying really that the spectrum sensor really fits into all these different form factors. And then lastly, you can also have a really sort of low cost kind of consumer type experience, where in fact the electronics in this case are taking their power of the USB-C. The app runs on the phone, and the sensor just sort of plugs in like this. So I will say thank you very much. If you have any questions regarding for Zimmer and Peacock, don't hesitate to reach out to us. But as I say, this is really an introduction to our sort of spectrum sensor, and how we can actually make that spectrum sensor specific to your particular analyte or application, and that's really through the method file, and then also through the data extraction algorithms that we can run on Julie. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at Zimmer Peacock. Okay, thanks very much.